Let's talk about making a container with a lid and how we can do it with different types of organic shapes or not regular squares, triangles, rectangles. All right. So I have a couple of tools that I would like to use. My barbecue skewer, a fettling knife, my carving tools, some slip. Let's just get the other tools out of the way, but all of you should have those materials at your table. Now, when I get my clay, notice the placemat. Then notice that I roll and flip and roll and flip and roll and flip. I want to make sure that those bars are right next to it, or my wooden dowels are right next to it, to make sure that it's the same thickness throughout. Once I have a sheet or a size that I want to trace, it's so much easier just taking my little barbecue skewer to make sure it's on there. Now the fettling knife, notice that I start off the clay and go from edge to edge. Makes it so much easier to cut away and get that precise edge that I want. Now, since I'm making a container, I want to have the top and I want to have the bottom. So I had another piece of clay rolled out that I could trace with my barbecue skewer again to incise the design, and then use my fettling knife to cut and clean up those edges. Take your time, don't race, because once you remove it, it's gone. All right, since I have my two pieces, they're exactly matching up. Now it is time for me to make my edges. I'm going to use the same thing, using my dowels to make sure that they're the correct thickness, and then cutting out the thickness of a ruler. That just allows it to be consistent. Now really pay attention to the thickness of the clay and the ends. I noticed that mine got thinner, so I cut it off. Okay, once I get my crust back there, I'm just cutting each size to fit, to make sure that it's easy to work with. Yep, there it goes. All right, needed just a little bit more, no problem. I had extra. Match it up, line it up, and then I can slip and score them into place. We actually need to applique these on. That means we need to slip and score. I'm going to score by making like ampersands or pound symbols or hashtags all along the edge. But keep in mind, not only does it have to go on the edge of the base, but it has to go around the perimeter of anything that I'm attaching to it. Think of it. I'm taking two separate pieces, I'm attaching them together, and they don't naturally want to just stay. I have to make sure that it's like I'm allowing them to suction from one to another. And for it to suction and get that real clean attachment, I have to use slip, which is glue and water. Now, did you notice that I'm doing not only just the edges from base to the edge, but from edge to edge, making sure that even my sides will connect, because anytime clay dries, it shrinks. When clay shrinks, it wants to separate. So by having everything slipped and scored together, it allows the clay to shrink together and to have less air cracks along the process. Did you notice that I'm actually pushing down and applying pressure on there? Totally doing that on purpose. I'm doing it to get any air bubbles that are out or from in between the hash marks, right? Like if you're gonna slip and score, you're creating air bubbles, and you need to make sure that you apply pressure to make sure that you get that out of the way